far. No matter how wide and far the road of life may stretch, nothing is more precious than a heart filled with generosity, for when the capacity of the heart expands, bounds, every path in life naturally becomes broader, brighter, and far more beautiful. Fortune. No blessing of fortune can compare to a kind and virtuous soul, because among all human relationships, true worth has always been measured by compassion, integrity, and goodness of heart. Between one person and another, there may appear to be only a very small difference, yet that seemingly insignificant distinction often determines whether an entire life rises toward prosperity or falls into decline. Success or failure, joy or suffering, are largely born from the openness of the heart and the attitude each person chooses when facing the countless experiences of life. Human beings in this world can often be divided into two kinds. One kind, living like a well beside a public road, always willing to offer benefit and refreshment to all who pass by. The other kind resembles a well hidden deep within a remote forest, possessing water within, yet rarely accessible to those who might truly benefit from its presence. It is truly a joyful thing when others seek your help or find refuge in your presence, for this shows that you carry qualities worthy of trust and confidence within your character. Therefore, what should concern us is not that others rely upon us, but rather that our hearts may become so narrow that no one feels inspired to place their trust in us. The human heart is much like a road, and the more it becomes occupied with calculations, competition, and hidden schemes, the narrower and more difficult that road becomes. There is no road wider than an open heart, because when compassion and tolerance are present, or even adversity becomes lighter and far easier to overcome. No mansion, regardless of its size, can compare to the greatness of a generous inner world. And the finest blessing anyone can possess is a truly kind heart. A person who lives with goodness resembles a radiant moon, slowly becoming full, spreading its gentle light across the world and illuminating countless lives along the way. One who commits harmful actions resembles a waning moon, gradually fading deeper into the darkness created by the consequences of their own actions. This is because a virtuous person grows brighter day by day like the waxing moon, continuously strengthening and expanding the light of moral character and goodness. Meanwhile, a person who repeatedly chooses wrongdoing resembles a fading moon, whose light diminishes little by little as blessings are exhausted through unwholesome deeds. Every human being possesses a certain measure of blessings and favorable conditions. Just as every moon shines with a different degree of brightness in the night sky, if one fails to cherish and cultivate virtue, choosing instead to create further unwholesome actions, those blessings will slowly diminish with the passing years. When that happens, life becomes like a moon descending into darkness, its light fading away, while joy and fulfillment gradually lose their brightness as well. It is truly unfortunate when a person personally wastes the blessings accumulated through many wholesome causes and favorable conditions throughout their life. 5. On the other hand, if one treasures goodness and continually cultivates merit, life naturally becomes brighter, richer, and more meaningful with each passing day. When blessings are nourished daily, a person resembles a growing moon whose radiance becomes increasingly complete, wide, beautiful, and inspiring. This is among the most precious achievements of human life, for no treasure is greater than virtue, merit, and a genuinely compassionate heart. Whilst in this life, sincerity and kindness remain essential qualities for anyone who seeks authentic happiness and lasting peace within their heart. Kindness is like a luminous moon already present within the deepest layers of every human soul in this world. That inner light can illuminate the sky of the mind, helping people discover peace, wisdom, and wholesome direction in their thoughts. The power of kindness also possesses the ability to transform hearts that are lost in suffering, confusion, and spiritual darkness. A single wholesome thought is a precious seed planted deeply within the fertile field of human consciousness. A kind heart is the rich soil that allows those beautiful seeds to sprout, flourish, grow, and flourish into something meaningful. A compassionate action is the sweet fruit produced from wholesome causes and conditions that were planted long before. Every person enters this world carrying within them the seed of goodness and the natural capacity to live with kindness toward life. If that seed is nourished daily through positive thoughts and virtuous actions, it will eventually grow into a strong and enduring tree. Yet there are also those who gradually lose touch with that seed of goodness, causing their hearts to become increasingly cold and distant from others. Some allow negativity and cruelty to contaminate the noble seeds within, slowly becoming more harsh, selfish, and unfeeling toward life. In truth, there is no one who does not need kindness, and there is no heart completely immune to the transformative power of goodness. Even those who appear exceptionally hard and distant can be touched by a heart filled with sincerity, compassion, and genuine care. A heart as cold as ice or as firm as steel will eventually soften before the warmth of authentic love and understanding. Sometimes a small act of goodwill offered at the right moment is enough to melt the frozen barriers surrounding another person's heart. 5. The highest expression of kindness is to do good without expecting rewards, recognition, or repayment from anyone. The more a person lives for the benefit of others, the lighter and more peaceful their heart becomes, and the more meaningful their life feels. By contrast, those who think only of themselves often live with anxiety, restlessness, and many troubles of their own making. Every blessing and every hardship encountered in life begins with the seeds that have been planted within one's own consciousness. Everything expressed outwardly through speech and action ultimately originates from the hidden depths of the inner heart. People who are kind, generous, and considerate toward others often encounter favorable conditions, meaningful relationships, and abundant blessings throughout life. Those who are excessively harsh, narrow-minded, or unkind toward others often unknowingly draw suffering, conflict, and misfortune closer to themselves. And people in the world are often blinded by ignorance, bowed, and because of that veil, they fail to see the law of cause and effect operating so clearly within every aspect of life. Fact, because they cannot perceive it. Bound, many assume that destiny is something unknowable and entirely beyond their ability to influence or transform. Find, in truth, when a person's heart is sincere and aligned with moral principles, it naturally resonates with the wholesome forces of heaven and earth. Found, when blessings are approaching, one can often recognize the signs simply by observing the good deeds a person consistently practices. Likewise, when misfortune is drawing near, and the roots of that outcome can often be seen within the harmful actions that person continues to cultivate. If you wish to welcome blessings and distance yourself from suffering, the first step is to return inward and begin transforming yourself. 5. Do not rush to pursue grand achievements, but instead begin by recognizing and correcting the faults that still linger within your own heart. Look back upon the wise and noble individuals of ancient times, and understand that they too were once ordinary human beings, just like us. Yet, through constant self-cultivation and unwavering dedication to virtue, they became shining examples for countless generations to follow. Meanwhile, many people allow their entire lives to pass in confusion and distraction, leaving behind little that truly benefits the world. The deeper reason is often an excessive attachment to personal desires and emotions, leading them repeatedly away from what is noble and righteous. Many even believe that their wrongdoings will remain forever hidden, and so they continue living with arrogance and careless self-confidence. They feel neither shame nor genuine self-reflection, failing to recognize that their mistakes are slowly guiding them toward suffering and decline. Perhaps nothing is more regrettable than knowing one is wrong, yet stubbornly refusing to change and become a better person. The ability to feel remorse for one's own faults is a precious beginning, guiding a person back toward the light of morality and compassion. The greatest virtue a person can preserve is their original goodness, or one who protects that inner goodness walks close to the path of wisdom, while losing it means drifting away from clarity and truth. Because this pure and wholesome nature is so precious, the moment sincere remorse arises for one's mistakes becomes the most essential foundation for transformation, according to the teachings of the Buddha. After recognizing and regretting past wrongdoing, the next important step is to awaken a heartfelt determination to improve oneself with sincerity and commitment. Anyone who wishes to correct their faults should develop a deep respect for the law of karma, and refrain from carelessly creating further unwholesome actions, even when hidden from the eyes of others. One should never assume that harmful deeds can remain concealed forever from the truth of cause and effect. Though heaven and earth speak no words, they silently witness every human action, and nothing good or evil escapes the unfolding law of karma. When serious harmful actions are committed, suffering gradually arrives as the inevitable fruit of those causes, while even smaller faults quietly erode existing blessings over time. Vard. Understanding this principle deeply, how could a sincere practitioner fail to become more careful with every thought, word, and action? There, not only in secluded places beyond human sight, but even amid crowds and busy gatherings, the wise strive to maintain purity in body, speech, and mind. Fact, no matter how skillfully one attempts to conceal wrongdoing or justify it through clever explanations, what is hidden within the heart will eventually reveal itself. Bound. Things concealed in secret may seem invisible for a time. 5. Yet, the truth cannot remain buried forever and will eventually emerge into the light. Vest. When misconduct becomes exposed and faults are revealed before others. 5. One's reputation and character often suffer profound damage. Thus, a person who allows their mind to remain immersed in wrongdoing gradually diminishes their own worth, causing others to lose trust and respect them. Reflecting upon such consequences, how could a conscientious person fail to feel caution and awaken before it is too late? Moreover, as long as life remains and breath continues to flow in and out, the opportunity to return to goodness still exists. 5. No matter how great past mistakes may have been, a person who sincerely repents and commits to change can still transform their entire life. Throughout history, there have been individuals who spent many years creating harmful actions, only to awaken deeply near the end of their lives. When genuine remorse arises and a powerful, wholesome intention is born, the direction of one's future immediately begins to change. That is why the ancients taught that a single, sincere thought of goodness, when powerful enough, can help dissolve a vast accumulation of past negativity. 5. It is like a dark cave that has remained unlit for ages, where a single lamp instantly dispels the surrounding darkness. No matter how long darkness has endured, it cannot overcome light, just as ignorance can always be transformed by wisdom. Therefore, when you recognize your mistakes, whether they occurred long ago or only recently, the most valuable response is to begin correcting them. In this impermanent world, human life is as fragile as a dewdrop resting upon a blade of grass, and no one knows what the next moment may bring. If the final breath arrives before repentance and transformation have been undertaken, regret alone will no longer provide another opportunity. At that point, only the unfavorable legacy of harmful deeds may remain in the world. 5. Serving as a warning to future generations. No matter how virtuous or devoted one's descendants may be, they cannot fully bear the karmic consequences created by another person. Within the darker realms of karmic consequence, each individual must eventually face the results of their own actions. Reflecting upon the fairness and precision of cause and effect, how could a wise person treat self-cultivation and inner purification lightly? The next essential step is to awaken a powerful and unwavering determination to transform everything within ourselves that remains unwholesome. Most people fail to correct their faults because they have become accustomed to old habits, allowing themselves to be carried along by unwholesome tendencies cultivated over many years. If we truly wish to change our destiny and transform our lives, Bess, we must rise with determination and refuse to let our minds remain trapped in hesitation and complacency. Bond. We should never delay the work of self-correction, for because the longer harmful habits remain unchecked, the deeper their roots grow and the harder they become to remove. Bald. Small faults that have only just appeared should be treated like a sharp thorn lodged in the skin, removed quickly before greater pain can arise. Void. Serious faults, however, should be viewed as deadly poison entering the body. Void. Requiring immediate and decisive action without the slightest delay. Faith. This is the tremendous benefit of courageous resolve. Faith, the strength to rise after failure and refuse to sink deeper into old patterns of karma. Found. When the determination to change is awakened with sincerity and power, transformation can occur as swiftly as thunder rolling across the heavens and as forcefully as a mighty wind. If one possesses genuine remorse, fear, healthy fear of karmic consequences, and the courage to reform oneself, formed, every fault can gradually be transformed. Whenever a practitioner recognizes something unwholesome within body or mind, it should be corrected immediately rather than allowed to continue. Such transformation resembles winter ice meeting the warmth of spring sunlight, bound, slowly melting away until nothing remains. Therefore, when the light of mindfulness and wisdom shines forth, bound, harmful habits and negative tendencies within the heart lose the ground upon which they survive. Faults. Yet, human faults can be corrected through many different methods, depending upon one's understanding and depth of spiritual cultivation. Some choose to transform themselves through concrete actions and wholesome conduct practiced consistently in daily life. Others rely upon deep contemplation of karma, truth, and the nature of existence to uproot their mistakes at the source. Still, others turn directly inward, bound, carefully observing every thought as it arises in order to regulate the hidden origins of all actions. Each method possesses its own value, though its effectiveness ultimately depends upon the sincerity and dedication of the practitioner. For example, a person who once harmed living beings may now vow to cultivate compassion and never again intentionally cause suffering to another creature. Likewise, someone once dominated by anger may now strive to calm their emotions, maintain inner harmony, and treat others with patience and understanding. Such forms of transformation involve correcting behaviors that have already manifested outwardly through daily actions. However, merely suppressing outward behavior is often difficult, because one must constantly struggle against habits formed over many years. If the roots of greed, hatred, and delusion remain alive within the mind, one fault may disappear only for another to emerge. For this reason, external restraint alone is not the most complete method for eliminating the causes of suffering and mental affliction. Those truly skilled in self-cultivation observe problems before they become words or actions expressed in the outside world. They use wisdom and deep reflection upon karma and truth to stop harmful seeds at the very moment they begin to sprout. For instance, when considering the taking of life, they reflect that heaven and earth sustain all living beings through boundless compassion, faith. Every creature in existence treasures its own life, and every living being fears pain and death just as we do. But if one steals another creature's life merely to satisfy the needs of one's own body, bound, how can the conscience remain truly at peace? Fund. Furthermore, before death arrives, bound, animals and living beings often endure immense fear, suffering, and anguish beyond description. The pain experienced by a creature facing slaughter penetrates to the deepest levels of its being. Yet many consume such lives without ever pausing to feel compassion. No matter how elaborate or appealing a meal may appear, once consumed, it serves only briefly as nourishment for the body. Meanwhile, simple meals prepared from vegetables and natural foods are entirely sufficient to sustain life. So why create additional karmic burdens through unnecessary killing? When we contemplate more deeply, we see that all creatures possessing flesh and blood share the same instinctive longing to live. Once a being can feel pain, perceive danger, and experience fear, the distance between humans and other sentient creatures is far smaller than many assume. At the deepest level of existence, all beings rely upon the same mysterious source of life and possess the potential for awakening. We ourselves have not yet attained such virtue that all beings look to us for refuge and guidance. So, how can we justify causing them harm? Why continue planting seeds of resentment that may cause other beings to fear and oppose us throughout the long cycle of rebirth? When this truth is thoroughly understood, every meal connected to another creature's suffering naturally awakens profound compassion within the heart. A person who truly understands karma finds it difficult to casually enjoy something purchased through fear, bloodshed, and the tears of living beings. Likewise, someone once prone to anger will discover through reflection that there is often far more reason for understanding than for blame. When others behave poorly or act without virtue, rather than looking down upon them, we should recognize that they too are obscured by ignorance and deserve compassion. When someone speaks harshly or behaves unfairly toward us, their actions arise from their own karma and understanding, not from our worth as human beings. Once this truth is deeply understood, anger gradually settles, leaving little reason to continue holding resentment or hostility. The wise understand that no person in this world is completely right, just as no one is entirely free from mistakes. Nor does any authentic spiritual teaching encourage people to nurture hatred or look down upon those who are different from themselves. The beautiful things that have not yet come to fruition in our lives often arise because we have not accumulated sufficient merit or cultivated our character deeply enough. If we do not yet possess enough virtue to positively influence others, we should first return to correcting ourselves, rather than focusing solely on the shortcomings of other people. When these truths become mirrors, reflecting our own hearts, each day becomes another opportunity to mature and progress along the path of self-cultivation. Therefore, when someone criticizes, reproaches, or hurts us, we should regard it as an opportunity to strengthen our patience and inner resilience. The friction created by adversity resembles the process of polishing a rough stone until it gradually becomes a precious and radiant gem. 5. When the value of this process is truly understood, bathed, a sincere practitioner no longer resents difficulties, but instead appreciates the opportunities they provide for growth. 5. When others slander us and we are still able to maintain peace within our hearts, their harsh words lose the power to damage our character. Found. Such bitter words eventually fade away like a flame burning in empty space, extinguishing itself without leaving any lasting impact behind. Fine. On the other hand, if anger immediately arises whenever criticism is heard, we unknowingly become the person most deeply wounded by the situation. 5. No matter how many arguments or justifications we present, they rarely bring genuine peace and stability to the heart. Faith. Such behavior resembles a silkworm spinning its own cocoon and then becoming trapped within the prison it created itself. The more tightly we cling to pride, resentment, and the desire to win, the more the chains of suffering tighten around the mind. For this reason, anger is not only useless, but also becomes a cause of diminishing merit and destroying inner happiness. Every other mistake in life can likewise be transformed through wise contemplation of karma, truth, and moral principles. When contemplation becomes deep, sincere, and consistent, unwholesome habits gradually lose the support that allows them to survive. This is the method of correcting faults through wisdom rather than relying solely upon forceful external restraint. As for transforming faults directly at their source, we must understand that every harmful action originates from thoughts arising within the mind. Human wrongdoing may appear in countless forms outwardly, yet all of them ultimately arise from mental intentions. If the mind remains calm, clear, and undisturbed by harmful delusions, where could wrongdoing possibly find a place to emerge? 5. Those who practice this method return to carefully observing every thought as it first appears within their awareness. Faith, desires for beauty, status, wealth, recognition, or tendencies toward anger are recognized immediately at the moment they arise. Rather than endlessly fighting individual faults one by one, they focus on maintaining continuous mindfulness and clear awareness. When the mind remains illuminated by mindfulness, distorted thoughts find very little opportunity to develop into actions. 5. Countless unwholesome thoughts are recognized as soon as they begin to emerge and naturally settle back into stillness. This resembles the bright sun shining across the sky, leaving no place for darkness to remain. Negative thoughts behave in the same way, naturally dissolving when wisdom appears without requiring excessive suppression. This is the most profound and refined method of transformation handed down by wise teachers throughout the ages. Since all wholesome and unwholesome karma originates within the mind, correcting the mind itself addresses every problem at its root. It is like removing a poisonous tree by cutting directly into its roots, rather than merely trimming its branches and leaves. If the roots remain untouched, the poisonous tree will continue growing again in different forms. Thus, therefore, correcting faults at the level of the mind is regarded as the quickest and most effective path of transformation. 5. During spiritual practice, whenever an unwholesome thought first appears, it should be recognized immediately and clearly. Then, when the light of awareness shines upon it, that negative thought gradually weakens and loses its power to dominate the mind. Then, if one's practice is not yet deep enough to sustain direct observation of the mind, contemplation of moral principles can assist the process. Then, by understanding karma and the realities of life more clearly, a sincere practitioner gradually eliminates harmful habits. If wisdom-based contemplation still feels beyond reach, then begin by correcting unwholesome actions that manifest externally. Although these approaches differ in method, each possesses value and contributes to the process of personal transformation. When one learns both to purify the mind and to guide behavior through wisdom, spiritual progress advances much more rapidly. Conversely, remaining attached to limited methods without seeking deeper understanding is a regrettable waste of the opportunity to transform oneself. For this reason, anyone who sincerely vows to correct their faults should seek genuine spiritual mentors who can offer guidance and encouragement along the path. When resolving to repent for past mistakes, a practitioner should sincerely vow, even in private places, before heaven, earth, and benevolent spiritual guardians who witness that heartfelt repentance. But, day after day, one should maintain reverence and perseverance, continually reflecting upon past faults without allowing laziness or carelessness to enter the mind. If such practice is maintained steadily over a long period of time, positive transformations within both body and mind will inevitably appear. Some people discover that their hearts become lighter and more peaceful, as though old burdens have been washed away and replaced by spacious serenity. Others suddenly find that their wisdom becomes clearer than before, and matters that once seemed confusing now appear obvious and easy to understand. Sometimes, even when facing difficult circumstances or complicated situations in life, they retain calmness, clarity, and the ability to move forward wisely. There are times when we encounter people who once caused us pain, yet instead of resentment, we find within ourselves a growing sense of understanding, compassion, and forgiveness. All of these signs reveal that old habits, harmful tendencies, and past mistakes are gradually being transformed and released from the heart. However, sincere practitioners should never become proud simply because they have achieved a few positive results along the path. For arrogance is one of the greatest obstacles found, capable of halting spiritual growth and preventing further progress toward wisdom and peace. Often, when we reflect upon the past, we fail to recognize our own faults, not because we were entirely right, but because ignorance still clouds our vision. Due to delusion, people usually find it easier to notice the shortcomings of others than to recognize the flaws that remain within themselves. When unwholesome karma accumulates deeply over time, both mind and body often begin displaying clear signs of imbalance and unrest. For example, a person may frequently feel weighed down, discouraged, mentally exhausted, forgetful, and unable to focus upon wholesome pursuits. And qua. Sometimes there appears to be no obvious reason, yet the heart remains burdened with anxiety, dissatisfaction, and an uneasy feeling that cannot easily be explained. When encountering people of integrity and noble character, one may feel embarrassed or uncomfortable because deep inside there is awareness of personal shortcomings. When receiving sincere advice that is truthful and beneficial, rather than welcoming it with gratitude, one may react with irritation and resistance. Many individuals repeatedly experience disappointment and find themselves trapped in circumstances that bring ongoing distress and uneasiness, frequently dream of chaotic, distorted, or troubling scenes that leave their minds unsettled even after waking. When karmic burdens become heavier, speech often grows uncontrolled, the mind becomes unstable, and life gradually loses its balance and harmony. All of these conditions serve as warnings, reminding us to examine ourselves honestly and urgently, begin correcting our faults. 2. If even one of these signs becomes apparent, we should immediately awaken strong determination and resolve to abandon the harmful habits accumulated over many years. Have the courage to leave behind the path that leads to suffering, and begin building a new life founded upon mindfulness, virtue, and wisdom. May every listener and reader come to understand the deeper meaning of these words, and never deceive their own hearts with comforting illusions. The human mind is like a river that never stops flowing, sometimes surging with powerful currents, and sometimes moving quietly through the endless years. Joy and sorrow, happiness and suffering, are like waters passing downstream, for nothing remains unchanged forever. Those who learn to observe the river of life will eventually discover that all change unfolds according to the natural law of causes and conditions. 5. The mind is also like clouds drifting across the sky, gathering and dispersing, arriving and departing, impossible to hold on to for long. Clouds may transform their shapes from hour to hour, yet the vast sky itself remains unchanged and ever-present. In the same way, emotions continually arise and pass away, while the pure nature of the mind quietly remains deep within every person. The mind resembles the vast earth itself, capable of receiving everything without losing its essential nature of acceptance and generosity. Whether people place clean things or impure things upon the earth, it silently embraces and transforms them all. 5. Those who return to their inner world begin to feel the pulse of life within even the simplest and most ordinary moments. When comparisons, judgments, and attachments are laid down, the heart becomes as light and clear as the sky after a great rainstorm. This is the mind living in harmony with nature, and also in harmony with the profound principles governing the universe. Those who live with such a mind discover beauty and meaning in every place they encounter throughout life. Every step taken across mountains or plains becomes an opportunity to extend love and goodwill toward all forms of life. Long ago there lived an elderly man who moved through life with remarkable peace, or singing joyfully and smiling each day. Many people were puzzled by his happiness and asked how he remained so cheerful despite his advanced age. The old man smiled warmly and replied that among all living beings beneath heaven, being born as a human is an extraordinarily precious blessing. To be born human, possessing the ability to distinguish right from wrong and cultivate goodness, is already a profound source of happiness. He explained that many people suffer from physical disabilities or difficult circumstances, which made him even more grateful for the life he had been given. Simply possessing a healthy body and the conditions necessary for an ordinary life is a blessing that not everyone receives. Most people exhaust themselves pursuing wealth, status, and endless desires, while he found contentment in a simple and uncomplicated life. Having food to eat, a place to rest, and freedom from constant worry was already a gift worthy of deep gratitude. Being born, growing old, and eventually leaving this world are natural laws that no living person can escape. If everyone must one day depart, why allow fear of death to steal the joy available in the present moment? Reflecting upon the blessings already present in his life, the old man felt that singing and rejoicing each day was simply the most natural response. Hearing those words, the listener suddenly realized that many of his sorrows had arisen simply because he had forgotten to appreciate the blessings already present in his life. Then there comes a moment when we understand that this body is merely a temporary gathering of conditions within an impermanent world, lost within the long dream of fame, gain, and desire. People often lose themselves beneath the dust and distractions of worldly pursuits. Only when we pause in mindfulness and listen deeply to each breath do we begin the journey back to our true nature. Awakening allows us to rediscover the beautiful values that were forgotten during years spent chasing illusions and restless desires. Through that realization, we begin to understand that what we call the ego is merely a temporary combination of countless conditions and causes. But 1. Have you ever wondered why heaven and earth endure through endless ages and continue functioning with such remarkable harmony? It is because heaven and earth do not exist for themselves, alone, but silently nurture and protect all beings with unconditional generosity. Just as sunlight and air continually offer life to everything that exists without asking for anything in return, and giving without expectation is the very foundation that allows all forms of life to continue, flourish, and thrive. And within the existence of every one of us can be found the traces of countless sacrifices and gifts offered by the vast universe. Therefore, if we wish to repay the kindness of life itself, we too must learn to live selflessly and share goodness with others. When we learn to give through compassion, sincerity, and loving kindness, life naturally becomes richer in meaning and purpose. Each day, practice living with a spirit of service and contribution. This is the path that leads human beings closer to genuine happiness and lasting peace. By cultivating these noble qualities every day, people can live with freedom, joy, open-heartedness, and a profound sense of inner tranquility. Found. The first virtue to remember is patience. For patience is not merely endurance, but a powerful strength that helps us overcome every hardship in life. Vowed. True patience means mastering one's emotions, remaining calm in the face of difficulties, and choosing wisdom over impulsive reactions. Fact. No one can move through life without encountering situations that disappoint, frustrate, or deeply trouble the heart. Facts. In those moments, a wise person knows how to pause, settle the mind, and use patience to calm the storms rising within. Bend. Throughout history, those who achieved great things were often individuals with broad vision and sufficient inner strength to endure challenges. Bet. People with great aspirations usually possess great patience as well. Why? Because without it, they could never overcome the difficulties on the road to accomplishment. Patience does not mean weakness or avoidance of reality, but rather the quiet accumulation of strength while waiting for the proper time to act. For those who know how to be patient avoid countless mistakes caused by impulsiveness and haste during important moments. The next quality worthy of cultivation is kindness, for goodness is the source from which blessings and genuine peace naturally arise. Facts. Intelligence may be a gift distributed differently among people, but living with kindness remains a choice available to everyone. Kindness is among the highest moral qualities that make a person truly respected and admired by others. Perhaps goodness cannot guarantee every material success we desire within the world. Yet those who live with kindness possess an inner stability and peace that no amount of wealth can ever purchase. The third quality is maintaining a joyful and cheerful heart. Because sincere happiness possesses extraordinary power to nourish both body and mind. A person who regularly cultivates joy naturally reflects brightness, vitality, and warmth through their appearance and presence. Cheerfulness is one of the greatest secrets for preserving health and maintaining youthful energy in a natural way. It is not age that causes people to lose their joy, but rather the loss of joy that often makes them feel old before their time. A sincere smile is more valuable than countless external cosmetics. Because it beautifies both the heart and the face. A smile also serves as one of the simplest yet most effective bridges connecting people to one another. Fourth quality is compassion and gentleness. These are powerful energies that nurture clarity, peace, and harmony within the heart. As people grow older, some develop faces marked by kindness and grace, while others reveal traces of bitterness and resentment. This reflects the principle that outward appearance gradually forms and changes according to what is continually nurtured within the mind. When the heart is filled with love, understanding, and acceptance, the face naturally becomes softer, warmer, and more pleasant. Conversely, if the mind repeatedly nourishes anger, jealousy, and hostility, those emotions eventually reveal themselves through one's expression and eyes. Another essential quality is genuine love for all people and all living beings encountered throughout life. A person whose heart overflows with love, radiates warmth and gentleness through every word, action, and interaction. Such individuals make others feel safe, comfortable, and welcomed, even through the smallest gestures. In contrast, those who constantly calculate gains and losses often struggle to find true happiness and frequently create suffering for themselves. The more tightly one clings to personal interests and selfish concerns, the heavier and more exhausted the heart inevitably becomes. Another extremely important virtue is sincerity and honesty in every relationship throughout life. These qualities form the foundation upon which trust and lasting connections are built. Sincerity is a firm and reliable cornerstone that allows confidence to grow naturally, creating relationships that can endure through the passing years. Every person wishes to be treated with honesty and authenticity. So let us begin by offering those qualities to others first. When you treat people with a genuinely sincere heart, similar goodness often returns to you in unexpected and beautiful ways. People who live truthfully often possess a calm presence, clear eyes, and a character that naturally inspires confidence and trust. The purity that arises from a clean and honest heart creates a beauty far more enduring than any outward decoration. Another noble quality is diligence and perseverance, both in one's daily work and in the ongoing cultivation of personal character. A diligent person values time deeply and strives to use every opportunity as a chance to improve and refine themselves. Steady effort enables people to overcome difficult circumstances and gradually build a more secure and stable life. The wise of old often taught that heaven never disappoints those who persist faithfully upon a righteous and meaningful path. Some people earn great wealth, yet fail to keep it because they lack discipline, moderation, and wise management. Meanwhile, those who work diligently and live according to sound principles slowly establish a strong foundation for the future. It is often the combination of hard work and careful stewardship that allows lasting value to accumulate over time. Another precious virtue is tolerance and generosity in the way we interact with others throughout life. People who practice forgiveness and understanding usually possess broad hearts that are not easily disturbed by trivial matters. They rarely waste energy calculating every minor advantage or competing over things that hold little true importance. Such individuals often live more lightly because they refuse to let their minds become imprisoned by constant comparisons and rivalry. By contrast, those who calculate every detail and cling tightly to every gain often become exhausted and restless. The ancients taught that knowing when to step back wisely can make the sky of life appear infinitely more spacious. There are moments when yielding is not a sign of weakness or loss, but rather an expression of wisdom and inner strength. Sometimes, taking a step back to preserve harmony becomes the very action that moves us forward along the path of meaningful relationships. People who know how to empathize, forgive, and accommodate others often receive genuine affection and gain many treasured friendships. Ultimately, happiness and suffering are not determined entirely by external circumstances. bound, but arise largely from the condition of one's own heart, vasen. Whether a person feels joyful or miserable depends greatly upon how they perceive and respond to life each day, bound. The gains and losses that occur externally are only secondary factors, vaus, while genuine peace must be cultivated from within, vesing. The person who brings us the greatest happiness or the deepest suffering is often not someone else, vau, but our own thoughts, vases. The human heart resembles a fertile field that patiently awaits the seeds planted within it every single day. If we sow seeds of compassion, kindness, and wholesome intentions, fruits, sweet fruits, will eventually appear in due time. Thought. Conversely, if we plant seeds of greed, anger, selfishness, and resentment, suffering will naturally emerge as the harvest. Vast. When we learn to live joyfully and appreciate the present moment, life becomes vibrant, fresh, and filled with vitality. Vases. It is much like vegetation nourished by warm sunlight and gentle rain, fall, growing greener and stronger beneath the open sky, found, or like flowers blooming gracefully in their proper season, becks, sharing their fragrance without competing against anything around them, fall. When we live in harmony with nature and preserve inner tranquility, bound, the entire world begins to feel friendlier and more welcoming. 4. This is because genuine happiness possesses the power to make a person graceful, radiant, and beautiful from the deepest level of the soul. 4. Long-held resentment and sorrow only burden the heart further. 4. Gradually dimming the natural beauty that already exists within. 4. Every outward expression originates from the inner world. 4. Life and character eventually reflect whatever the mind continuously nurtures. Vast. A sincere smile is perhaps the clearest mirror, revealing the seeds that are being cultivated within the depths of the heart. Vap. If gratitude and joy are nourished consistently, bow, the natural result will be peaceful smiles and authentic happiness. Vases. If the mind remains filled with excessive worry, grief, and pain, bound, those emotions will inevitably reveal themselves through one's eyes and daily life. Thought. When the heart clings tightly to old losses and wounds, resentment and dissatisfaction easily begin to grow. Yet when the heart overflows with love, compassion, and understanding, the fruit that ripens is always a profound and spacious generosity. Vast. When distorted and harmful thoughts are allowed to remain for too long, people can easily be drawn toward paths of suffering and confusion. There is a truth worth reflecting upon deeply. For although we cannot always change external circumstances according to our wishes, we can always transform the way we perceive them. Pray, do not allow rainy days to darken your spirit, for the rain itself brings freshness, nourishment, and life to countless beings. For when rain falls, we no longer have to endure the scorching heat of the sun. And this reminds us that every circumstance carries its own hidden blessings. Likewise, do not become overly troubled by intense sunshine, for that very light helps people clearly see the path that lies before them. 5. What causes us to stumble is rarely the sunlight itself, but rather the deep pits of affliction that remain hidden within our own minds. Open the doors of your heart wide enough to embrace the vastness of heaven and earth, and discover the wondrous beauty surrounding you each day. Fave. Every sunrise arrives, carrying fresh energy. Gently refreshing the body, awakening the mind, and breathing new life into the spirit. Faith. No matter whom you encounter during your lifetime, that person's appearance in your journey carries a meaning that is uniquely their own. No meeting is entirely accidental, for every connection arises from deeper causes and conditions woven throughout the fabric of existence. Each person who enters our lives brings a lesson, an experience, or a necessary awakening meant to support our growth. Very often, when we reach the furthest limits of difficulty, a new path is already beginning to open before our eyes. The obstacles that seem overwhelming today may simply be stepping stones, leading us toward a broader horizon tomorrow. Wherever life happens to carry us, that place is often exactly where we need to be in order to learn the lessons meant for us. Therefore, calmly experience what must be experienced, read and welcome the encounters that destiny places along your path. The pine and cypress trees deep within the forest remain green throughout the year, even without praise or special attention from anyone. Plum blossoms bloom courageously amid winter's cold, never waiting for recognition before expressing their natural beauty. Human beings are much the same, for there are moments when we must walk through the loneliest stretches of life entirely on our own. There will be seasons when no one offers assistance, encouragement, or complete understanding of what we carry inside. Yet those very periods become valuable opportunities to strengthen our willpower and mature into stronger versions of ourselves. Only after crossing difficult years through our own efforts do we truly understand the meaning of resilience and perseverance. In truth, the world contains far fewer injustices than we often imagine. And much of our suffering arises because the mind lacks sufficient peace. When the heart is unsettled, even small problems appear enormous, but when the heart is calm, adversity becomes a meaningful teacher. Do not spend your life trapped in blame and resentment, but instead learn to view all situations through the lens of understanding. When we learn to let go of attachment, we discover that much of our suffering originates from our own grasping. Treat every gain and loss as clouds drifting across the sky, appearing for a moment before dissolving into the vastness of time. One day you will understand that human life itself is as delicate and fleeting as a passing breeze. We enter this world through the gathering of conditions, and we leave when those conditions dissolve according to nature's law. We come from dust and eventually return to dust. For nothing in this world can be possessed forever. Even the grandest dreams resemble lamps burning through the night, destined one day to exhaust their flame. Human relationships are like summer rain, arriving and departing according to causes and conditions beyond anyone's control. Friends are like clouds meeting in the sky, sharing part of the journey before eventually drifting apart. Suffering is sometimes like a bitter cup of wine, overwhelming while we are immersed in it. Yet one day, awakening inevitably arrives. Found. Loneliness resembles a star shining in the darkness. Found. Glowing brightly for a time before gradually fading through the years. Find. Isolation is like the moon itself. Found. Waxing and waning according to the eternal rhythms of creation. 5. 100 years of human life, when viewed in its entirety, ours is little more than a long dream that eventually settles into stillness. Vars, after years of effort, struggle, and hardship, everyone eventually arrives at a moment of rest within the embrace of impermanence. Within every person exist both noble qualities and hidden imperfections, still waiting to be transformed. 5. Each of us carries within ourselves both the light of goodness and the shadows of ignorance, not yet illuminated. Do not completely reject the less beautiful parts of yourself, for they too are valuable elements of the journey toward maturity. Likewise, do not become overly satisfied with your strengths while neglecting the ongoing work of self-improvement. Within every human being exist both bright and dark colors, bound together, creating the complete portrait of the inner life. If we pursue only what appears good while denying our weaknesses entirely, genuine transformation becomes difficult to achieve. Very often, the mistakes of the past become the precious material through which we gain deeper wisdom about life. The lotus flower cannot bloom in empty space, but must rise from mud in order to reveal its pure and fragrant beauty. Human growth unfolds in much the same way, shaped by hardships, wounds, lessons, and experiences gathered throughout life. No lasting perfection can ever be built upon running away from the past or pretending it never existed. Everything that happens to each of us carries its own meaning, and within every experience lies a lesson that life quietly invites us to learn. Whether it arrives as joy or sorrow, every experience contributes to the depth, wisdom, and maturity of the human heart. Therefore, welcome all experiences with gratitude, and meet life with sincerity, regardless of the form in which it appears. Then use wisdom, courage, and perseverance to transform whatever is unwholesome into strength for personal growth. Turn the refuse of afflictions into nourishment for the garden of your consciousness, allowing it to flourish with vitality and renewal. When the roots are nourished properly, the tree of life naturally blossoms with fragrant flowers and bears the sweet fruits of peace. At that time, you will personally experience the gentle sweetness of happiness arising from a mind that has become calm and pure. True happiness does not come from possessing a great abundance of things, but from the ability to love and be content with what already exists. Those who know how to give with an open heart leave behind values that continue shining long after their own lifetime. In contrast, people who try to hold everything for themselves often lose far more than they realize they are protecting. Remember that human life is remarkably brief, and no one can carry worldly possessions beyond the moment of departure. Therefore, while you still walk this earth, live kindly, love generously, and cherish every meaningful connection life has granted you. For everyone longs to be loved, appreciated, and accompanied by sincere companions throughout the long journey of human existence. Found. There are certain matters that become much lighter once we clearly understand their true nature. Fact, no longer allowing illusions to drag us into suffering. There are also people who, once we fully understand the karmic conditions connecting us, cease to occupy our thoughts so heavily. When we descend into the deepest valleys of hardship and challenge, the most important thing is not to blame fate, but to preserve faith within the heart. No matter how harsh circumstances may become. Never abandon your inner strength, for the greatest power already resides within you. There is no path in this world that remains completely smooth and effortless from beginning to end. Every journey contains unexpected turns, uneven roads, and challenges that must be crossed before growth can occur. You cannot remain standing before those obstacles forever, but must continue moving forward with patience, courage, and determination. The bends and difficulties of life are not designed to defeat you, but to help you become stronger, wiser, and more mature. Every adversity that appears offers a valuable opportunity to strengthen character and refine the soul. No matter how many silent tears may have fallen during the night, dawn still returns according to the mysterious rhythm of life. And when the sun rises once more, life continues unfolding, and countless people continue their own journeys. Therefore, trust that every hardship will eventually pass away. Just as storm clouds gradually dissolve after the rain. Each new day arrives, carrying fresh opportunities for those who are willing to rise again after falling. No obstacle can remain forever if a person possesses the perseverance and determination to keep moving forward. Every human being carries private joys within the heart, and also personal sorrows waiting to be understood and transformed. Both happiness and suffering serve as teachers, helping us understand ourselves and the nature of life more deeply. The events of the past cannot be changed. Yet, the way we choose to live in the present always remains within our control. When this truth is understood, people learn to adapt gracefully to circumstances and discover the path most suitable for themselves. The greatest loss in life is not poverty or failure, but losing the inner refuge that gives the heart direction and stability. Those who do not know where their hearts should rest are easily swept away by the endless changes of the world. Whether you recognize it or not, the goodness within your heart remains a powerful source of protection during difficult times. If wholesome intentions are preserved within the mind, very little in this world can truly disturb your peace. A sincere and compassionate heart rarely finds room to nurture resentment toward anyone. Those who live simply and understand contentment are not easily shaken by the chaos unfolding around them. No matter how dramatically life changes, they continue carrying peace and serenity within their hearts. Living as a genuinely kind person is one of the most effective ways to nourish health, emotional balance, and restful sleep. And people who regularly perform good deeds experience a profound inner joy that requires no praise or recognition from others. Authentic acts of goodness are silently witnessed by heaven and earth, best, and naturally earn the respect of those around us. When excessive suspicion is not constantly fed, the world begins to feel warmer, closer, and more welcoming. When we stop obsessing over comparison and competition, we become more aware of our connection with other people. When anger is no longer allowed to dominate the heart, then the sky within the mind remains bright, clear, and peaceful. If we do not enjoy conflict or create unnecessary disputes, life naturally becomes far more harmonious, peaceful, and pleasant to live. True stillness does not come from remaining physically motionless, but from mastering the inner world, regardless of what happens around us. A person with a stable and balanced mind remains calm, even when life itself is filled with uncertainty and change. Such people know how to listen to the breath of heaven and earth, finding beauty in every leaf, blade of grass, and passing season. Lasting peace is always built from within the heart, and can never be found entirely through external circumstances alone. The more people chase endless desires and expectations, the further they drift from the peace that already exists within themselves. Some spend their entire lives striving, struggling, and exhausting themselves, only to discover that nothing can be taken beyond this life. When the time comes to leave this world, wealth, status, and reputation must all remain behind. No matter how much property or treasure is accumulated, not a single worldly possession can accompany us on the final journey. The fame that people pursue for many years eventually disperses like a thin mist floating across the evening sky. Once born into this world, whether rich or poor, everyone ultimately arrives at the same destination of impermanence. After completing the human journey, every person must eventually say farewell to everything they once called their own. Therefore, while the opportunity still exists, devote your heart fully to the people who truly matter in your life. Learn to cherish meaningful relationships rather than endlessly chasing the illusions that the world presents as valuable. Some memories cannot be forgotten, and it is perfectly fine to allow them to remain as part of the story of your life. If one day those memories begin to fade, do not force yourself to hold on to them or suffer because of their departure. People often grieve more deeply over things they once possessed and lost than over things they never had at all. For this reason, attachment becomes the source of countless forms of suffering throughout life. Do not become overly dependent upon any person, because dependence quietly gives birth to expectations. The more expectations we place upon others, the easier disappointment appears whenever reality fails to match our hopes. In truth, life contains far fewer reasons for despair than we often imagine. If you are the author of your own life story, then choose to create a journey filled with meaning, purpose, and value. There is no need to transform your life into a tragedy simply because of temporary failures or moments of misfortune. Do not remain standing in a dark corner worrying about events that have not yet happened. courageously face, because only through movement can you discover the path that truly belongs to you. But not everything in life unfolds according to our wishes and expectations, and therefore, do not burden yourself with excessive pressure or punish yourself over circumstances beyond your control. 5. If you have done your best with sincerity and wholehearted effort, then peacefully accept whatever results arise. 5. The peace that follows genuine effort is far more valuable than endless regret and self-reproach. 5. Human beings spend their lives planning, calculating, and staying busy with countless responsibilities and concerns. Yet, no matter how hard we work, the tasks of life never seem to come to a complete end. Some spend their entire lives saving and accumulating wealth, yet still feel they never possess enough. Greed, when left untransformed, causes people to spend their lives chasing goals that have no final destination. Many people live cautiously and endure much worry, yet still cannot avoid making mistakes along the way. No matter how careful we are, errors still occur because making mistakes is part of the human experience. Within this vast universe, every individual is but a tiny grain of dust drifting through the endless stream of time. For that reason, there are many matters that need not be carried with excessive seriousness, but can be viewed more gently. Life is not entirely beautiful, yet neither is it nearly as terrible as the mind sometimes imagines. Right and wrong, success and failure, value, all become valuable experiences that help us mature and grow. Every road we travel contributes a unique landscape to the complete picture of our lives. As long as inner peace remains intact, happiness can be found within even the most ordinary moments. No matter what happens, else, the river of life continues flowing forward, and what truly matters is what we learn along the way. Do not spend all your energy worrying about distant matters beyond your reach, while neglecting the peace already present within your own heart. In this lifetime, there are many encounters that happen only once, but becoming memories that never return again. Some connections, once they have drifted away, can never truly return to what they once were, no matter how deeply we may long for them. Therefore, cherish those who are still walking beside you, and peacefully bid farewell to those whose time has come to continue their journey elsewhere. Never allow one person or one painful experience to destroy your faith in the beautiful possibilities that still await ahead. When faced with situations that do not unfold as you wish, learn to respond with calmness rather than allowing anger to govern your mind. Likewise, do not expect understanding or agreement from everyone, or each person views life through different experiences, conditions, and perspectives. The habit of depending upon the approval of others only weakens the heart and makes it more vulnerable to disappointment. Even if the world sees you as an ordinary person, never forget to protect your dignity, self-respect, and inner worth. Those who truly value themselves do not allow praise or criticism from others to determine the value of their lives. Do not let your thoughts revolve endlessly around a single problem or sorrow until balance disappears from your life. Void. Nor should you place all of your hopes, emotions, and expectations upon one person alone. For life contains many other treasures worthy of appreciation. Around you, there is still family, loved ones, and countless responsibilities that deserve your care, affection, and attention. Remember that life continually offers fresh opportunities to those who are willing to rise again after falling. What we call tomorrow is a new gift that life quietly places into our hands each day. The path of human existence is woven from both happiness and sorrow, success and failure, gain and loss. No one can travel through an entire lifetime without making mistakes or facing difficult challenges. Where you have gone wrong, correct yourself there. And where you have fallen, rise again from that very place with greater wisdom. The failures of yesterday may very well become the foundation upon which tomorrow's success is built. A wise person never abandons learning, because learning remains one of the shortest paths toward growth and improvement. Nor should we reject opportunities that help us become better, stronger, and more mature with each passing day. The future always contains beautiful possibilities waiting to be revealed through effort applied in the present moment. Great dreams become reality only when they are nourished through meaningful action, beginning today. If you diligently plant seeds of kindness and virtue, the day will surely come when you harvest worthy and beautiful fruits. Every sincere effort made in the past and present carries value and meaning upon the journey of life. Therefore, trust that a brighter future is built from the right actions performed today. All growth in life follows natural laws, just as day follows night and one season follows another. Every day we are given to live is a precious opportunity, worthy of gratitude and appreciation. Do not spend your time regretting what was left undone yesterday, while passively waiting for the future to arrive on its own. Only those who live fully in the present truly understand the value of life and honor the blessings already within their reach. Those who understand the way allow events to unfold according to causes and conditions, rather than forcing everything to match personal desires. What truly belongs in your life will remain, even after many changes, and will appear at the proper time. What is not meant to remain with you, however tightly you cling to it, can rarely be held forever. Therefore, if you wish to preserve something precious, especially love, learn to respect the natural law of causes and conditions. You have every right to give your wholehearted effort to what you cherish, but you must also know when it is time to stop. When every possibility has been explored and every sincere effort has been offered, letting go becomes the wiser choice. The more stubbornly we cling to what no longer belongs to us, the greater our pain and inner struggle become. Affliction often begins with an unwillingness to accept that life has already changed. By contrast, when we learn to let things follow their natural course, the heart becomes remarkably lighter and more peaceful. This is also one of the most effective ways to accept reality and live in harmony with life itself. Yet, whenever we must release something truly important, feelings of sadness and regret naturally arise. Some people understand that they should let go, yet still lack the courage required to actually do so. Especially in matters of the heart. Many continue holding on because too much hope remains unresolved within them. Often they cannot let go because they are still waiting for a miracle or a change that may someday arrive. As long as the heart remains bound by attachment and expectation, freedom, true inner freedom, remains distant. Those who struggle with indecision often think excessively, making both holding on and letting go equally difficult. They stand at the crossroads between emotion and reason, uncertain whether they should move forward or retreat from what lies before them. Sometimes it takes a major life upheaval, or a direct encounter with the boundary between life and death for a person to truly awaken. Such profound experiences reveal what is genuinely important, and what has merely been an unnecessary attachment all along. When our perspective toward a person or situation becomes broader and wiser, letting go naturally becomes much easier. Those who learn to see life through the lens of wisdom no longer suffer excessively over things that are simply expressions of impermanence. Much of our suffering arises because the heart still carries countless desires and attachments that have not yet been transformed. Day after day, the mind spins endlessly around what it longs for. And from this constant striving come fatigue, restlessness, and anxiety. When people gain fame, they become afraid of losing it and reluctant to step away from the glory surrounding them. When they acquire wealth, they worry constantly about preserving it and fear the possibility of loss. When they find love, they often wish to hold it forever, according to their own expectations, forgetting that all things change. When they build a successful career, they become preoccupied with protecting and maintaining what they have achieved. All these difficulties in letting go arise from the thoughts, dreams, and expectations still stored within the heart. People remain attached because they continue painting beautiful visions around the things they currently possess. Those things still appear attractive and desirable, preventing the mind from clearly seeing their impermanent nature. Very often, what prevents us from letting go is not the object itself, but the emotions and memories that continue binding us to it. Only when we truly understand that every gathering of conditions must eventually dissolve do we learn the art of letting go with peace and wisdom. Many things remain impossible to release because they have not yet brought us to the final threshold of awakening within ourselves. Human beings often change only after experiencing enough pain to understand that continued attachment creates even greater suffering. There was once a man whose face was filled with worry and sorrow, and he came to a meditation master seeking guidance. With great respect, he explained that there were certain people and events in his life that he could never seem to release, despite many attempts. The meditation master smiled gently and replied that in this world there is truly nothing that cannot be let go. The man remained confused and answered that he had tried repeatedly, Yet, the burdens within his heart still remained. 4. The master then quietly handed him a teacup and asked him to hold it carefully in his hands. Then, afterward, the master slowly began pouring tea into the small cup before the man. 4. The tea soon filled the cup completely. Yet, the master continued pouring without stopping. 4. Before long, the tea overflowed and spilled over the sides, causing the man's hand to become painfully hot and uncomfortable. Unable to endure the sensation any longer, he immediately set the cup down without needing any instruction. Seeing this, the meditation master smiled and softly said that everything in life is much like that overflowing cup. When pain has not yet become great enough, people continue clinging stubbornly to what burdens them. But once suffering is fully felt, letting go often happens naturally. Therefore, there is truly nothing that cannot be released. Only burdens whose weight we have not yet fully recognized. People and events that have long since passed but are still carried in the heart often become the very causes of exhaustion and sorrow. Feelings of regret, guilt, shame, or disappointment from the past become like heavy stones carried along an endless road. The farther we travel while carrying such burdens, the more exhausted both body and mind become, and the harder it is to find genuine happiness. Letting go is not merely abandoning external possessions, but learning how to free the heart from its hidden afflictions. Often, the most important thing to release is not money, status, or possessions, round or effort, but the sadness and attachments we continue holding inside. If we cannot release our doubts, regrets, and inner struggles, they quietly consume our peace day after day. Over time, these negative mental habits become chains that imprison the spirit and rob life of its natural ease. Letting go is therefore a profound practice through which people cleanse the dust of worldly burdens and return to the goodness that has always existed within their hearts. If we cannot prevent the natural laws of life from unfolding, then why not choose to live with greater peace and acceptance? A heart that carries fewer worries is always healthier, clearer, and more resilient than one weighed down by endless concerns. No one can deny that one of life's greatest blessings is the ability to live with serenity and inner contentment. Excessive thinking drains energy, weakens the body, and leaves the mind weary and restless. Long-lasting anxiety can even become the source of unnecessary illnesses and suffering. Once we understand this truth, we naturally begin learning how to loosen our grip and live each day with greater happiness. The deeper our understanding of life becomes, the more patient, compassionate, and tolerant we become toward ourselves and others. True wisdom always teaches us to treat both ourselves and the people around us with gentleness and understanding. Then, when we fully realize how brief human life truly is, our attachment to material possessions begins to fade away. We no longer feel compelled to cling desperately to wealth, status, or the fleeting treasures of the world. In the end, no matter how much we accumulate throughout life, none of it can be carried with us when we leave this world. When this truth is deeply understood, Us, people naturally become more open-hearted and learn to appreciate what they already possess. Thus, we begin learning how to share freely, to give freely, and to spread kindness and love to those around us. Gradually, we realize that the true value of life is not measured by how much we own, but by how much goodness we have offered to others. Life is not merely a journey of gathering material possessions, but a journey devoted to nurturing and refining the soul. Those who understand this truth find greater joy in helping others than in endlessly accumulating things for themselves. Bringing happiness and comfort to another person is also a way of beautifying our own life. This is perhaps the deepest meaning of our presence in this world. When compassion and kindness are properly cultivated, they grow like a mighty tree with strong roots and abundant branches. From those wholesome seeds bloom countless flowers of generosity, understanding, and goodwill. Human beings become the finest version of themselves when they choose to live with compassion and loving kindness. Treat everyone with sincerity and unconditional goodwill. Allowing your heart to remain open, regardless of circumstance. Do not divide people according to their origins, social status, beliefs, or conditions of life. When the heart opens itself to all living beings, the world itself becomes brighter, warmer, and more beautiful. At such moments, every day becomes illuminated by understanding, wisdom, and genuine human connection. Then we can smile quietly and say that we are truly living in peace and happiness. Human life may not seem especially long, yet neither is it truly short when lived with purpose and meaning. Every day we are granted is a precious blessing that many fail to recognize. Return and live fully in the present moment, so that when the time comes to leave this life, nothing important remains unfinished in your heart. Walk steadily and mindfully through every step, like one who is fully awake upon the journey of life. Offer your complete presence to those you love while the opportunity to share time together still exists. A joyful smile given at the right moment can be far more valuable than countless spoken words. It reminds us that we are still alive, still loved, and still blessed with opportunities to create goodness in the world. No matter what the future may bring, the present moment remains the most precious thing we truly possess. Human life is remarkably brief, and no one can escape the universal law of birth, aging, and death. If this is so, what lasting benefit comes from endless arguments and struggles to prove ourselves right? Anger and stubbornness often harm us far more than they ever improve any situation. In the end, such reactions bring neither peace nor happiness, but only greater weariness to the heart. Far better is the practice of preserving inner calm, regardless of life's changing circumstances. Arguments rarely solve problems at their deepest level, and more often create distance, misunderstanding, and resentment. Those who learn to govern themselves wisely are not easily swept away by temporary waves of negative emotion. As a result, they speak more gently, act more skillfully, and understand others with greater compassion. Whenever anxiety or agitation begins to arise, remind yourself of how brief and precious this human life truly is. Ask yourself whether your present worries genuinely solve anything, or merely add more unrest to the heart. If the answer becomes clear, you will naturally choose peace over needless suffering. Little by little, the mind learns to loosen its grip on unnecessary concerns and return to a state of ease. The more often we practice this return, the more stable, peaceful, and joyful our lives become. Eventually, we discover that many burdens were never imposed by the world at all, but were created by our own attachment and resistance. When attachment weakens, the heart regains its natural freedom and spaciousness. Then even amid difficulties, there remains a quiet place within where peace continues to dwell. This inner refuge cannot be bought with wealth, achieved through status, or granted by the approval of others. It is born from understanding and nourished through mindfulness and protected by compassion. Those who discover this refuge carry a light within themselves that remains steady through both joy and sorrow. And because of that light, faith, they are able to walk through life with greater wisdom, gratitude, and serenity. The greatest gift we can offer ourselves is not the fulfillment of every desire, but the cultivation of a peaceful and awakened heart. For when the heart is at peace, every ordinary day becomes a blessing, and every breath becomes a quiet celebration of life. The more deeply we understand life, the more naturally we become generous, patient, and accepting of both ourselves and those around us. As understanding grows, we stop measuring people solely by their mistakes and begin recognizing the struggles hidden within every heart. We learn that everyone is carrying burdens unseen by others, and this realization awakens compassion instead of judgment. The person who once offended us may also be suffering from wounds we know nothing about. The person who appears arrogant may secretly be battling fear, insecurity, or loneliness beneath the surface. When we understand this, harsh criticism gradually gives way to empathy and kindness. Compassion does not mean approving of every action, but it allows us to respond with wisdom instead of hatred. The more compassionate the heart becomes, the lighter and more peaceful life feels. Many conflicts disappear, not because circumstances change, but because our perspective becomes broader and more understanding. When the mind is no longer trapped by resentment, it gains the freedom to appreciate the beauty that has always existed around it. A peaceful heart can find joy in simple things that others often overlook. The sound of birds greeting the morning, the fragrance of flowers after rain, and the warmth of sunlight all become quiet sources of happiness. Life does not require perfection in order to be beautiful. Often, the most meaningful moments are found within ordinary days that pass without great achievement or excitement. A shared meal with loved ones, and a sincere conversation, or a moment of silent understanding can hold immeasurable value. Many people spend years searching for happiness in distant places, while overlooking the treasures already resting beside them. Found. True contentment rarely arrives through obtaining more, but through learning to appreciate what is already present. Found. The heart that knows gratitude is never truly poor, regardless of how many possessions it owns. Likewise, a heart consumed by endless craving can never feel rich, no matter how much it acquires. Found. Gratitude transforms ordinary moments into blessings and simple experiences into lasting memories. It reminds us that life itself is already offering countless gifts each day. The ability to breathe freely, to see the beauty of the world, and to love those around us are blessings beyond measure. When gratitude fills the heart, complaints naturally become fewer and joy becomes easier to find. The practice of gratitude also teaches humility, helping us recognize how much of our life depends upon the kindness of others. No one succeeds entirely alone, or every life is supported by countless visible and invisible contributions. Understanding this truth inspires us to live with greater responsibility and generosity. Rather than asking what the world owes us, we begin asking what we can contribute to the world. This simple shift in perspective changes everything. The heart becomes less concerned with taking and more interested in giving. It becomes less focused on personal gain and more devoted to creating benefit for others. Such a way of living brings a fulfillment that cannot be found through selfish pursuits alone. For the deepest happiness arises when our lives become a source of comfort, hope, and encouragement for others. Every act of kindness, no matter how small, sends ripples far beyond what we can immediately see. A gentle word may brighten someone's darkest day, and a compassionate action may restore hope to a person who has nearly given up. A sincere smile may remind another soul that goodness still exists in the world. Therefore, never underestimate the value of even the smallest act performed with a loving heart. Great transformations often begin with very simple gestures. A forest begins with a seed. A river begins with a spring, and a life of wisdom begins with a single wholesome intention. Every moment offers a new opportunity to choose kindness over anger, understanding over judgment, and gratitude over complaint. All those choices, repeated day after day, gradually shape the destiny of an entire lifetime. The future is not created in a single dramatic moment, but through countless small decisions made in the present. Therefore, cherish this moment and use it wisely. Plant seeds of goodness whenever you can. Speak words that bring healing rather than harm. Think thoughts that cultivate peace rather than conflict. Live in a way that allows your presence to become a blessing to those around you. Then, when you look back upon your journey, you will find not a life wasted in regret, but a life enriched by meaning, compassion, and wisdom. Namo Amitabha Buddha. A single teaching of the Buddha, when remembered, may awaken us for a brief moment. Yet, a single teaching of the Buddha, when truly put into practice, has the power to transform an entire lifetime. If you have found today's reflection meaningful and beneficial, please consider liking, following, and sharing it with others. 5. This is not only a gesture of support for the channel, but also a beautiful way to help spread goodness and wisdom, allowing the Dharma to reach more people who are ready to receive its guidance. Thank you sincerely for your companionship and support. May you always preserve a peaceful heart amid the ever-changing currents of life, living each day with mindfulness, compassion, understanding, and genuine happiness. Namo Amitabha, Buddha.